Money mantra. Money mantra. Manage your mind. Manage your money. All right, my people, here we are on another episode of the Money Mantra, and you know I am your host, Caesar Visual Zamudio. And today, my guest is an intuitive coach, spiritual teacher, and writer, and her aim is to merge the spiritual with the real world through soulful work, intuitive consulting. Please say hello to Rachel Horton White. How you doing, Rachel?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm good. In a really good mood and glad to have you on.
Awesome. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So let's get right into it, Rachel. What is your money mantra?
My money mantra is, it changes, but the one I'm going to say right now is that abundance flows to me in expected and unexpected ways.
Wow, that's good. I like that. Please elaborate on that. Like, what does that really mean to you? That's
Well,
awesome.
I believe that abundance is not just about money, but it's about having good friends, having food, having an abundance of, like I'm looking out my window at all these leaves and grass and flowers everywhere, an abundance of nature, abundance of joy, an abundance of happiness.
Yes.
And all those things that, of course, money is important, but abundance can come in so many ways. So that's kind of how I view it.
That's great. I like that. Let's get into the money and how you get it. Please tell me your different streams of revenue.
Yeah, so through my business, Soulful Work Intuitive Consulting, I do guidance sessions with people. So intuitive guidance sessions, which can be just individual hour-long sessions. I also do coaching, which is more intensive, longer-term work with people. I do workshops that happen periodically for an hour and a half or 2 hours or longer. I do an online courses, and I'm recently just started, but since I last talked to you, I started a monthly membership program, which is my most affordable option for people to join in virtual or monthly gatherings to connect with people on a spiritual path and learn together. I think that's it. I'm trying to remember. I have a lot of different ones, as you can see.
Well, that's good. I like the fact that you can't remember all the streams.
I know,
That's a good problem right there.
I know. Yeah. Well, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, we'll see how good it gets, right?
Right. Exactly. Hopefully. Yep.
Awesome. So let's get into this, moment during your worst financial time. I really want to hear about that. I know things are going okay right now. You have some different streams of revenue and some different opportunities you've created for yourself. I really want to go back to that moment during your worst financial time, and please walk us through the mind state that you had during this hardship.
Well, it was shortly after I left my full-time job about year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I knew that when to start this business, and I knew that was going to be, things weren't going to just happen overnight. But I didn't really plan for it very well. And I didn't really think about, how I didn't look at the finances as closely as I should have. And so what happened is that we kind of one day we just like looked at our bank account. And I was like, oh, we're kind of running out of money. And it was, I was, at the place where I was considering having to ask my parents for help. And I really didn't want to do that. And so that I felt, getting to that point, I felt just really ashamed and embarrassed and scared and of course worried. And so I was worrying a lot. And that worry was probably bringing about more of what I didn't want, which is what I really do believe. So, we ended up getting very creative and finding different places that we had money we didn't remember we had. And, it did work out, which is how I believe the universe works. I did not have to ask my parents for money. Although, it probably would have been fine if I did. But But yeah, it just was a very bad space to be in, and it really reminded me that there are many people who live with that anxiety every day, and it's not a fun place to be in at all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a low point that you don't really want to be at for too long.
No, definitely.
I get it. You mentioned fear and embarrassment. Like, what was it that you think really caused that fear and embarrassment that you didn't want to feel?
Um, well, I like to think of myself as a self-sufficient person, and that I'm able to. I've always been that way. That I create things I want in my life, and I work really hard, and I usually get them. I mean, if it's for my highest and best purpose, as I put it, for what my soul wants or my soul knows is best for me. So I think I felt like I failed, like I just wasn't doing it right, and that's one of my fears is fear of failing, and I think we all have that to a point too. So I think that was where the embarrassment came in. It's just I didn't feel like yeah, was maybe I wasn't supposed to be doing this my own business, and maybe I shouldn't have done. Maybe I made a mistake, or maybe I'm just not good with money, or all those negative thoughts that I know aren't real. But yeah, I think that's kind of where it came from, was that fear, fear of failure, or the belief that I was failing.
I see. So it's almost like you let yourself down, and you didn't want
Hmm.
to let
Yeah.
yourself down. I get
Yep.
that. That's
Yeah,
that's
I'm
great.
my own worst critic. I'm the hardest I'm more hard on myself than anyone else. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate to that
Yeah. You're an
definitely.
entrepreneur, so yes.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. We are our worst and best everything.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly right.
So, Rachel, what did you really learn from this experience? And most importantly, what do you think the listeners could really take from this?
Um, well, as with everything, I come at life and this is what I do in my work. I try to talk about the practical side and also the more spiritual side. And so I believe there are two aspects to it. One of which I was worrying so much about money before that happened. And like, well, what if we run out, and what if this? And so I feel like I maybe subconsciously created that. I know that sounds kind of out there with my own worries. But I also think that from the practical side, I should have, maybe done a plan and a budget, and like looked ahead and really, got real with it. And I was being a little too idealistic, thinking that somehow magically I was just gonna manifest all these clients overnight when I'd never done this before. So that it was kind of a little bit idealistic. So I think, what I would say to people is that nothing in life happens. I mean, sometimes, I shouldn't say nothing. Usually things don't just happen overnight. Sometimes you hear about these like crazy successes people have, and that's great, but like flowers take time to grow. You don't just put the seed in the ground and then it just all of a sudden blooms into this big flower overnight. It takes time. And so I think that was one of my biggest lessons, was understanding that that's just not how the world works, that things don't happen overnight, and that it was going to take time for me to build up a steady stream of income, a very different source of income, and also to really be aware of my own thoughts and my own energy, and realize that I could be subconsciously creating, or I like to call it co-creating, because I believe there are other forces like a creator force helping us, co-creating something that I wanted or I didn't want. We're very powerful beings. If we understand that, then we can really make almost anything happen in our lives. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
you mentioned flowers needing to be watered, and yeah, that's a fact. A lot of times we forget about patience and
Hmm.
realizing how important it is, even amongst ourselves. Like, we're like, hey, when is this gonna happen? I've been working on this for weeks, months, or even years, and we don't realize that sometimes that they take that long. It
Right.
just whatever it may be, and sometimes it looks like it's overnight because it just looks so great. But people that don't know the grind, they don't know that it's been going on forever.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you can attest to that for
Oh
what
my
you've done.
goodness.
Yes.
Yes, that's a
Yep.
fact.
Yep.
Rachel, I want to hear about something recent, something that you've changed for your own personal development. Whether it was something that was stressing you out or something that you just said, hey, you know what, I want to be better at this, or I want to better myself in this area. What is that? Just walk us through that, please.
Well, all right, I'm gonna get a little out there if you don't mind for a second
Let's do
because
it. Let's do it.
this might be a little out there for some people, but I recently have been learning a lot about archangels, and that, and I became what is known as an angel intuitive. So, like, this is basically energy, for what I believe, at least. I don't know, everybody may not believe that, but I personally have had some amazing experiences with things I can't explain in my life, whether it's angels or just other guides from beyond. And so I decided to learn with this woman named Doreen Virtue, who's, people, in the spiritual world know her as like the angel lady. She's pretty well known in the world. But so I've been learning a lot about this energy that we can access. And oh my gosh, I've been trying it with clients, and it is amazing. Like, I had a client who was trying to get pregnant for 2 years, and she came to me, and so I said, we'll do some work on that, and then just try talking to this Archangel Gabriel, because it's more feminine energy, about getting pregnant. And she emailed me 2 weeks later that she was pregnant. Not a lie,
Wow.
no joke. Same thing with
Wow.
my husband's motorcycle. He couldn't fix it. It had been broken for months, and I was like, I think there's an archangel for that, Archangel Michael, who's normally about protection, but I think there's something about mechanics. And he's like, all right, whatever, I'll try. He's like, I'll do anything at this point. I don't care. I just want to fix my motorcycle. And a couple days, it was like, took 2 or 3 days, but he ended up running into this mechanic who told him something that was wrong, and then my uncle who told him, and he fixed it. 2 or 3 days. So, I mean, it could be like, well, was it just because of the mechanic, or was it this energy that brought that person into his life? Anyway, so that has been what I've been really learning a lot about, and I share it with people because it is, I mean, it's like, I don't understand it totally myself, but all I know is that it is incredibly powerful and potentially like life-changing for people. So there you go. There you have it.
Wow, Rachel, like you just told me that you made a lady pregnant. Like that's
Well,
phenomenal.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Like you just put the baby in her. Like wow, you're just like here you are.
I know. I just dropped the little bombs out there. No,
Oh
but
my
I didn't do
goodness,
it.
that's
I plant the
phenomenal though.
seeds. Right. I help
That's
people.
that's
It's amazing.
that's yeah, it is. It really is. And what's funny about it is that a lot of people might be hearing this, and I'm sure you've probably had conversations with people that are like, yeah, whatever, or
Right.
they probably they're like, yeah, Rachel's losing it, like whatever they
No,
may be
definitely
thinking,
I Yep.
But the thing is that I get it because there's definitely been points in my life where I'm like, hey, I'm feeling something here. I'm sensing something happening, and I'm not sure how to explain it, but I definitely have an intuition about a lot of things that have developed in my life. So I'm very intrigued by that. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So do you feel, were you already intuitive about certain things and you kind of gravitated to this, or did you just
Yeah.
totally say, "Hey, I want to learn about this"?
No, I was already on that path. I mean, I was already doing, I've always had that side of me, we all do. We all have that ability, it's just, and I honestly, part of this work is that I was practicing it. I was practicing, what people call like, as cleaning out my third eye, or, that intuitive side of us,
Yeah.
which is literally in between our eyebrows, the psychic, part of us, which I've always had that, in my life, but I wanted to develop it even more. To be able to really help people. And so that's why I did this. And I wanted to tap into energy that I really trusted, that was pure, because I believe that there are some things that are not for our best interest. Let's just put it that way. And I didn't want to,
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I was really in the light. And so that's
Sure.
why I chose the Archangel piece. Cause it just, honestly just found me, and I just like, oh, cool, I'll do this. So yeah, it just kind of happened.
Wow. That is awesome. That's great right there. So this is an awesome way to end this first half of questions. I love that archangel talk. It's wow. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely going to talk to you more about this
Good.
outside of this interview because
I
this
hope
is
so.
very intriguing to me. So what we're going to do right now, Rachel, is we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our sponsors and we're going to bounce right back in.
Sounds good.
What's good, my people? So I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but video has 135% greater organic reach over audio, photos, or other type of media posts. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, a podcaster, an artist, or anyone else trying to get an audio message across, the best way to do this is to combine it with video and photo. And you could do this at wave.video. That's WAVVE dot video. Just go to their website. You could get a free account. And if you need any support, contact them. I've personally been able to work with Baird Hall. He's the founder. He's an awesome guy. He helped me set up everything for Money Mantra. So please go to wave.video. That's WAVVE.video. All right, my people, we are right back here on the Money Mantra with Rachel Horton White. I am your host, Caesar Visual Zamudio, and we're going to get into this first question right here. So, Rachel, what's your biggest challenge when dealing with money?
Well, okay. I think my biggest challenge, I'm just like, people are going to think I'm like totally off my rocker, but whatever, I'll say it anyway. I believe that we're moving into an economy that might not be purely focused on money, that money may not be like at least the paper green money we used to may not be as relevant as it is now. So because I believe that, sometimes I get a little confused. I'm like, oh, maybe, I can do a lot of bartering with people. But I'm like, no, I still need to pay, all these bills and stuff. Like, money still matters. And so bartering, I do bartering. But so sometimes I think I get, my challenge is bringing myself back to like the reality we live in today, which is we still are a money-based economy. And money isn't bad. I mean, money, I think, has been like, we've had many people have a skewed view of money, like, that they can't, it's not attainable, or that it's bad, or just because of how our society has kind of portrayed it, which I think is really a shame. So I think my own challenge is, I guess, two things. Like, one, about the changing from a money-based economy, and that it's not happening overnight, and nor do I really want it to necessarily. And the other, I think, is that working through my own like limiting beliefs around money, because I was lucky enough to come from a family where a privileged family, I guess somebody will say it, so that created a lot of guilt in me, and so I kind of didn't want money because I felt like it was going to make me be a bad, greedy person for a long time. And so I've had to work really hard at shifting that belief, because it's so subconscious, and I didn't even realize I worked in the nonprofits for years, and knowing that I like literally did not want to make money. I was like, I do not want to make money, like, I'm going to help people, and I don't deserve money. And then I got really tired of that mentality, because I was like, no, I think I do deserve money. Actually, I'm working really hard, and I kind of want to feel a little more valued. And so honestly, that's why I left, because it wasn't working. That belief had not been creating the life I wanted. But because I'd spent years with that belief, it took time for me to work through it. I think I still am working through it. I've done a lot already, but to believe that, no, it's okay. I'm not going to become this greedy, materialistic person with money, money flowing into my life. And so I think, I don't know, that's kind of a couple different things, challenges, but I think money is so complicated. And honestly, I'm so glad you're doing this podcast, Caesar, because so many people have a lot of what holds people back in life is based on money, or fear of not having money. And it needs to change. Like, we can't let money rule us in that way. Instead, we need to rule money, or, shift the perspective of it, I think.
Yes, I agree 100%. That is precisely why we are here on this podcast, my friend.
I know. I'm glad you're doing it. Yeah.
Rachel, how about personal mindset? What gives you problems?
Problems with my personal mindset?
Yep.
I think I am a natural worrier. Like, that's what I'd always done, is like worry about like the worst thing that could happen. And if I'm not careful, I can let that worry take over. But so I think that's in terms of my personal mindset. Like, that's where I can stumble, but I practice meditation as much as I can, or I call it quieting the mind. And that really helps me become aware of my thoughts and noticing the thoughts that that are not helping me and trying to separate from them. So I think that answers your question, right?
Yeah, yeah. How about your biggest strength when dealing with money?
I think it comes back to kind of what I was talking about, is my belief that abundance can flow to me and through me, and that and when I get in that flow, which, of allowing money to come to me, and then I also believe it's important for me to give it back. So I think that's my biggest strength, is my mindset around it, and my energy around it. When I do it right, that is. When I'm not careful, and like when I'm just in my negative ego mind, then I know why. If it's blocked, it's partly because of me, and of my own thinking and my own subconscious thinking, I should say, because it's very subconscious, some of it. But when I'm in the flow, and when I'm visualizing myself being in that flow and receiving things, and I've done this many times, like visualizing, a trip I want to take, or the house I want to live in, or, it takes sometimes months, but I've experienced it, that I will manifest that. I've learned that that's one of my, I will manifest things pretty easily. Sometimes I do it the opposite way that I want, but when I take the time to visualize and write it out, and then of course I take action, I'll just sit there and wait for it to happen. Then I look back and I'd be like, oh my God, it is everything that I wrote it down, like all these things I wanted, and literally I have that right now. It's amazing.
Yes, yes.
The big things take longer time though. So
Definitely.
yeah.
I like the fact that you mentioned that sometimes that you're just like, wow, look at that. Because I've literally done that where I visualize things, I write them down, and months later something happens that I wanted to happen, and I completely forgot that I was manifesting it the whole time.
I know.
I'll look back in a notebook and I'm like, oh my God, like I wrote this months ago, and then I wrote it again weeks after that, and then weeks after that, and just the other day, and then here it is.
Yeah.
So yes, that's
amazing.
Very powerful, very
Yes.
powerful.
Yes.
Rachel, what's the greatest thing you're looking forward to every day in your life?
I look forward to, just being, I think, with my family in a peaceful, natural, joyful setting, and experiencing that kind of life where we're like living in nature, with the earth. We're within a community of loving people, growing our own food when we can. And, I have that vision a lot. I actually spend time visualizing that a lot. And it may or may not be in the United States, but I am looking forward to that.
That's awesome. You got it. It's coming.
Yeah, I know. I feel it.
Tell me your daily routine or habits that keep you focused on your goals.
Well, I have a lot of them actually. So one of the things that I do is every morning, maybe it's not the first thing that I do when I wake up, but I give thanks for three things, gratitude for three things in my life, and I try to make it different every day, and it raises my vibration, or the frequency I give off energetically, and I believe that it allows me to kind of be open to all the good things out there. Whenever I can, I try to do at least 5 minutes of yoga, which often is just like yoga until my kids start yelling at me for something, but I'll do it there while they're running around too, and they'll sometimes do it with me, which is cool. And then throughout my day, I will take time to, as much as I can, to just focus on my breath, even if I don't have time to like go sit down or lie down for like 10 minutes of meditation. I'll just try to recenter and, notice my inhale, my exhale, and get outside if I can, grounding myself in the earth, which I think is so important today when we're so connected to electronics and in buildings, anyway. So yeah, those are some of the things that I do. I think in the evening, sometimes I also try to reflect on what happened in that day and what I accomplished, and set the intention for the next day, which I try to do literally by just visualizing it. I don't always do this, of course, but I try visualizing what I'm going to be doing that next day. And of course, things don't always go to plan, but as much as I can, those are things that really help a lot.
Great.
So
Do you have app, software, or any other resource that helps you with your business or personal life?
I use Trello, Trello, to help me keep some of the things I'm working on organized. I've been looking into, I haven't used it yet, but something called Simplero, which is like basically manages everything you have, including emails and all that. I'm trying to think of any other, like that's the, Trello is an app I've tried different things. I mean, yeah, some of the things I use, I wouldn't necessarily recommend to people, like, things that are not as high tech as some of those. But I kind of, yeah, I think those are a couple of good ones. There's something I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I mean, I experiment. I try different things out, and if I like it and if it works well, then I'll use it. And I think I can get a little picky, and I go back and forth sometimes, but. I do like Trello, so let's just stick with that one.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
How about a book or film that you recommend, and please tell us why?
Well, I think if it's about money, or about abundance, which I think would make sense for this, there's a book called The Law of Divine Compensation by a woman named Marianne Williamson, who is a pretty well-known, spiritual teacher, public figure, and it's really about kind of like what I was talking about, just getting into the flow of abundance in the universe and reframing our subconscious self-defeating beliefs about money. So I would definitely recommend that. I listened to it on audiobook. I like to listen to things in audio, or just you can download it on Audible or whatever, and listen to it in the car or wherever. And it's a nice way to just, listen when you're driving or when you have spare moment if you don't have time to read, which I don't always have time to do. So that's a good book.
Awesome. Rachel, this is the question that I just love to ask. People have some really cool answers and a nice range of answers. I want to know what you would do, or maybe what you have already done with your first $1 million.
That is a really good question. Well, often the first thing that comes to my mind is travel. That's not the most altruistic thing to do, but I love to travel, and I want to take my family with me, like to different countries in the world, to see how people live and to learn and grow. And I think that's the world is the best education for kids, in my opinion. But I would also, I may invest in some real estate or something like that. I would also invest in green energy and things like solar and wind and hydroelectric, which I think are really fueling the future. And any companies that are doing things for the planet, for the climate. So yeah, I think I don't think I'd like buy like 5 cars or 3 houses or anything. I mean, that wouldn't probably be $1 million wouldn't go that far anyway. But yeah, I think that's where I'd start with some of those things.
Dig it. Yeah. All right, Rachel, so we're wrapping up here. Please leave us with some final personal advice and let the people know where they can contact you.
Well, I would say if you are wanting to do something in your life and it's a dream you've had for a long time, but there is a fear holding you back and it's around money, which it often is, take the time to really explore that. And I am a big fan of writing, of doing some processing about if you really believe that belief, or if you want to continue to carry that story with you, where it came from, maybe in your childhood, and then try to separate from it. And really you can do this by visualizing it and, kind of even talking to the person that may have said something to you as a child, like, we can't afford that, or, you shouldn't become an artist because you'll never make money. Those things stick with us in our subconscious. And it's really important to separate from those subconscious beliefs because they block us from what we want to create in our lives. So that would be the number one thing. And I think just as a little aside is take the time to visualize what you want, because I think a lot of people don't take the time to do that, like just to kind of let things happen to us, but really to make a picture of what you want your ideal life to be like and know that it's possible for you. It's just a matter of working through some of these blocks and then doing the work to get there. And you can get there. So yeah, to find me, soulfulworkconsulting.com is my website, and I do all kinds of different things. I have my own podcast too there, and I'd love to connect with you.
Yes. There you have it, people. Contact Rachel if you need to get a hold of her. And once again, to you, to everyone listening, I want to wish you nothing but peace, blessings, and hundreds of lessons. I am your host, Caesar Visuals Mudio, and this is the Money Mantra.